We all know the iconic opening of Avatar The Last Airbender. Water, earth, fire, air, the cycle of the elements that defines the Avatar's journey. The world depends on the balance between these elements, and the Avatar's role is to respect and master all of them. But here's the question. Does the Avatar really have to learn them in order? On the surface, skipping around might just sound like a shortcut to become a fully realized Avatar. But bending out of order isn't just risky, it's a recipe for imbalance that could spell trouble for both the Avatar and the world. Welcome back to the Casual TV channel, and today we're breaking down what could happen if the Avatar learns the elements out of order. The first question we need to answer is, what's the actual purpose of learning the elements in order? Naturally, the Avatar starts with their native element. That's the one they're born into, and most of the time, nobody even knows they're the Avatar when their training begins. But following the cycle in order isn't just tradition, it actually makes the learning process easier. Take Aang for example. He was already an airbending master by the age of 12, so his natural element came effortlessly. When he moved on to water, it clicked almost instantly. Air and water share similar philosophies. They're both free-flowing and rely on redirecting and using an opponent's movement against them. He picked up the element so fast that he even had Katara crashing out at him. But then came Earth. This is where the cycle shows its importance. Earth is the opposite of air. It demands that you stand firm, face problems head-on, and embrace stubbornness rather than evasion. Aang struggled here because his instincts as an airbender clashed with everything earthbending required. Finally, there's fire. For Aang, fire is the furthest from his own nature. It's aggressive, destructive if uncontrolled, and alive with its own heartbeat. Without the lessons of patience, adaptability, and balance he gained from the earlier elements, fire would have been hard for him to control it. The purpose of learning the elements in order is to give the Avatar a foundation of teachings and principles that carry into the next element. Each step prepares them mentally and spiritually for what's ahead. Aang wasn't the only Avatar to struggle with his opposite element. Roku even admitted he had trouble learning waterbending during his training.
Waterbending was especially challenging for me.
Korra, on the other hand, mastered everything except air, and that's because her mindset was rooted in firebending, always on the offensive. The order matters because each element shifts the Avatar's perspective. Learning them in a sequence reshapes how they think, helps them adapt, and connects them to all the different cultures in the world. And that's another crucial piece. If the Avatar didn't physically travel to each nation to learn, not just the element, but also the wisdom and way of life of its people, they wouldn't truly understand the world they're meant to bring balance to. So why even bother learning the elements in order? Couldn't the Avatar just pick them up out of sequence and still gain the knowledge they need? Well, you definitely could learn the elements out of order, but there's a reason tradition is so strong here. Following the cycle isn't just about mastering the elements, it's about honoring the balance between nations, cultures, and philosophies. That's why Avatars are encouraged to travel the world, learn the bending styles, and absorb the wisdom of every nation in the sequence. But what if there's something else? Something darker. Something that the Avatar, the Great Bridge, cannot see. The superstitious aspect. In the Rise of Kyoshi novel, the prequel to the Avatar The Last Airbender story, Kyoshi wants to learn waterbending, and her bodyguard and lover, Ranji, says, "I don't want her teaching you waterbending. It's not good to deviate from the pattern." Weird thing to bring up, kinda seems like Ranji was jealous of Karima, who she thought Kyoshi might like, until she says this. They say bad things happen when the Avatar tries to defy the natural order of bending. Ill fortune befalls on them. Now this is pretty interesting. The world of Avatar believes that if the Avatar learns out of order, then bad things may pop up in their life. Now Ranji is from the Fire Nation, so maybe this is a belief that's circulated mostly there. But if that's true, how could Avatar Roku not have heard of it? And here's where it gets really interesting. Roku's the one who pressured Zhang into teaching Aang firebending before he was ready. And what happened? Aang burned Katara. So was this just a tragic accident, or did Roku deliberately let it happen as a lesson? Maybe he wanted to show Aang that even under pressure, with a ticking clock like Sozin's comet, shortcuts aren't the way. That rushing the natural cycle only leads to disaster. If you want me to reach real heavy, when Korra arrives into the world, she can bend a few of the elements early. And what one does she bend in front of the White Lotus members?
You gotta deal with it!
Fire. So technically we could assume that Korra learned elements out of order. And you know what happened to Korra. She had a really good time, no troubles throughout her time as Avatar, and she had absolutely no problems and the world was on a great trajectory. I think most civilians would want the Avatar to stick to the traditional order, especially in Aang's case. The world had already been at war for 100 years. If there is even a shred of truth to that superstition about learning the elements out of order, why would you even want to risk it? I know I wouldn't want him to take any chances. But the cycle isn't just about bending the elements. It's about opening your mind as the Avatar, Every nation teaches not only a style of bending, but a way of life. Traveling, training, and learning from different cultures changes the way the Avatar thinks and acts. An Avatar stuck in their own ways, refusing to grow, would be dangerous. That kind of narrow mindset wouldn't just hurt them, it would put the entire world at risk. So while learning the elements out of order might raise some superstitious fears, the real red flag would be if the Avatar didn't learn them at all. That silence, that refusal to connect with the rest of the world, would send alarms ringing across every nation that something was seriously wrong. At the end of the day, the bending cycles isn't just a rule, it's the path for the Avatar to grow, learn, and connect to the world. Breaking that order might stir superstition, but refusing to learn them at all would be far worse. Their cycle exists to keep the Avatar balanced, not just in bending, but in spirit and wisdom. And that balance is exactly what the world depends on. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss out on any of my other content. If you want to grab the Rise of Kyoshi novel for yourself, I have a link down below in the description. Thanks for tuning in and supporting the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.